These two former BFFs battle it out over dollar bills.
I'm a tax preparer and I'm an adult entertainer. So I dance full-time and I do taxes seasonally.
So you have no problem counting those dollar bills is what you're telling me?
Oh, I count money very well. If I can't do nothing else, I know how to count.
Okay.
And later, he says she put herself in the poorhouse.
Shannon had a history of not paying money.
But she says what he did next will deliver him to the doghouse.
He kicked my dog so hard.
The reason I was there at the duplex was part of the eviction process. I had to post a notice.
Exactly. The two of you weren't getting along, and all of a sudden, after all the times you've been over there, now all of a sudden Abby wants to attack you, so much so that you have to kick her in the head.
Faith Jenkins. Her distinguished legal career began when she graduated first in her law school class. She quickly became a tough New York City prosecutor and then a preeminent legal analyst on cable news. And now she's the judge in her own courtroom. Her cases are real and her rulings are final. She is Judge Faith. Licensed tax preparer and adult entertainer Casey Watson says her former BFF is too cheap to cough up the tax preparation fee she owes the plaintiff. Defendant Marlana Manoy says her former friend came to her house 3 times demanding money. Marlana claims she doesn't owe a dime until she gets her tax refund.
Remain seated and come to order. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Faith Jenkins presiding. Your Honor, this is Watson versus Manoy.
Thank you, Barbara. Ms. Watson, you were suing the defendant Marlana Manoy for $600. You say she didn't pay you for preparing her 2013 tax return.
Correct.
Tell me about your case.
My so-called friend, Marlana Manoy, called me up. This was my second year doing her taxes. She says, hey, Casey, can you do my taxes? I say, sure. I go over to her house in February.
Well, how did the two of you meet?
Well, we lived in the same apartment complex. We were neighbors, and we became very good friends throughout the time that we lived in the same apartment community, and we stayed in touch once both of us had moved and went our separate ways.
So you are a tax preparer. That's what you do for a living?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a tax preparer, and I'm an adult entertainer. And I've actually gotten one of the adult entertainment clubs that I work at to contract with the tax company so that girls can file their taxes and everything. So I dance full-time, and I do taxes seasonally. And I've been doing taxes since, like, 2006.
So you have no problem counting those dollar bills is what you're telling me?
Oh, I count money very well. If I can't do nothing else, I know how to count.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So what happened? How did you come to this agreement to do the defendant's taxes?
So anyways, when she calls me up, I'm like, hey, Marlena, I'm like, you do hair and everything. Why don't you let me do your taxes? I've been doing taxes for a while. I used to work for a particular company. They taught me very well. I could probably get you more refund than whoever's been doing yours. She's like, okay, cool. I'll give you a chance. I do her taxes. I'm like, it's going to be $600. The $600 that I'm charging you includes audit service, peace of mind, which is like an insurance. Like, if I need a copy of your tax return for the next 3 years, I will provide you one. If you need help with anything with your taxes, anything with the IRS, I'll go down there and talk with you.
Did the two of you sign a written agreement?
Yes, ma'am, and I have the contract as well.
Okay, let me see a copy of that. So at some point you say that the defendant did not pay you.
Yes,
correct?
Okay.
So what happened?
This whole case is based off the fact that she does not trust me, that she does not believe that what happened has happened.
Why didn't you pay her the $600?
Because I never received my money. My check was stolen en route. Initially, what happened?
Your IRS refund check was stolen? Okay,
yes, ma'am.
What
And it's currently under investigation. I have the paperwork at hand. What happened was initially, it was to be direct deposited. And when it was going to be direct deposited, I had called my bank to ask them questions about certain things other than the transaction for the direct deposit. Now, that particular account was inactive for about 4 months. I was not notified that my account was closed. So I immediately called Casey and I told her that they need me to come down to the bank because they can't get any information from the computer. I have to present my identification. And I actually called her while I was in the bank.
So your account was closed at the bank, so the IRS could not do direct deposit.
Right.
So what happened? So they mailed you a physical check.
Right.
And what happened then?
I never received the check. We both went down to the IRS office, and she heard everything that they had to say, that they were supposed to mail it March 11th, and I would receive it no later than March 24th.
But that wasn't her fault that you didn't receive the check. She did do your taxes, right?
Yeah, she did it. She did a great job.
So why didn't you pay her? Why didn't you pay her?
I could not pay her because the check never came. And under the agreement in our contract, it said when the money was received, that's when I would pay her.
So the issue was that the IRS had to mail her a physical check, and she's saying the check was stolen, that you never actually received it.
Right.
So did you
After they
report that
mailed
to
it.
the IRS?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
You don't think that her check was stolen?
No, this
Okay.
is before the check. That's only even how she got to a check. Then I say, look, I'm going to come get you. I'm going to take you down to the IRS. I say, do you have a couple of dollars for gas you can give me? Her so-called senile aunt that's been cursing me out and doing all the talking for her.
My 82-year-old would never curse anybody out.
There's nothing wrong with her aunt. Her aunt stands up and walks around the house like the bailiff, and she says the lady's on the deathbed, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
She doesn't know anything about
her
this.
aunt has answered the phone several times and cursed me out and look, we're not thieves. Marlena's going to pay you your money. Yes, she did. And all I ever did was tell that. Well, when I say cursing me out, even though she didn't use a cuss word out her mouth, she got nasty and ugly with me and went on a rampage with me for about 10 minutes.
Because she was constantly coming to my house.
I came to her
she
house
was
3
big,
times, Your Honor.
unannounced.
She's not answering. Okay, listen, Your
Hold on
Honor,
a
she's
second.
not answering the phone. She's not communicating. Okay, she just told you. I filed the lawsuit on May the 5th. She didn't even contact the IRS to June. I came to her house 3
because
times.
there's a certain allotment.
All right, you owe me money. You're not contacting me. You're not telling me anything.
Do you think she got the check and she's just not paying you?
And I'm going to tell you why.
All right.
Coming up on Judge Faith, did an unpaid tax bill cause this friendship to go broke?
You're not calling me. You're not communicating. You just want me to take your word. We signed the contract. Her first word to me is, oh, you know how the IRS do. They say they mailed it out on that day.
I see so many of these cases, and whenever I have a case where people come in and they say, I'm going to pay you when I get my tax refund, it never happens.
And later, her bad behavior and his terrible temper put this poor pup in the middle of a bitter eviction battle.
I told Shannon again to get your dog under control. It's
And
coming
then you
at me.
kicked her in the
I
head.
kicked at it again.
Kicked her in the
missed.
head.
I've heard enough about that.
Casey Watson says her former BFF is too cheap to cough up the tax preparation fee she owes the plaintiff. Defendant Marlana Monoy claims she doesn't owe a dime until she gets her tax refund.
Ma'am, please go on.
When March the 11th rolls around, when I'm the one who took her to the IRS when they told her they was going to mail her check on March the 11th and where it was going to go to. I say, Marlena, all right, cool, we cool. They're going to mail it out on March the 11th. Around the 1st of April, I'm like, have you got the check? Her first word to me is, oh, you know how the IRS do. They say they mailed it out on that day. They
I don't
ain't
talk
mailed
like
nothing.
that.
It's going to
First
take
of
the
all-
whole 6 weeks. I
First
say,
of all, I'm not
Marlena.
ghetto and I don't talk
I said,
like that.
So you're calling the IRS a lie? You're going to say they didn't mail your check out on the 11th when they said they was going to do it? The next time I go by her house, I'm like, I don't have your number anymore. Have you heard from the IRS? What's going on? Keep in mind, Your Honor, I didn't
Funny, because I got a text
February,
and a
now
phone
we're in
call
June.
later that evening.
You're not calling me. You're not communicating. You just want me to take your word. We signed the contract. The contract said upon receipt. You received it in February when it went to your bank and it was sent back.
Did the IRS do
They
an
said-
investigation? What did they find out happened to your check? Did they find out anything about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that.
Well, all they sent me was the copy of the check and the forms for me to officially claim that that was not me that gave permission to cash the check, that I was not the one that cashed the check. The check was cashed at a super Walmart. It was deposited in an account at a super Walmart in Lexington, South Carolina on April 3rd at 11:05 a.m. I have not been to Lexington, South Carolina.
And according to you, someone forged your signature
Yes,
on
ma'am.
the check to cash it?
Yes, ma'am.
And
Out her mailbox.
you never saw the money at all?
I never saw the money.
And that's why you haven't paid the plaintiff?
Exactly.
Why would you agree to allow someone to defer payment to you until after they've received their income tax return
Because that's
refund?
Yes, ma'am.
Because let me tell you, I see so many of these cases, and whenever I have a case where people come in and they say, I'm going to pay you when I get my tax refund, it never happens.
Okay, can I
It
tell
never
you why, Your
happens.
Honor?
People don't pay when they get their tax refund.
Can I tell you why?
Okay.
First off, me and her were friends.
I
This
wouldn't
is
really
not my
consider us
first-
to be
okay.
friends at all.
You don't consider us to be friends? Then
We had a
okay,
rapport.
hold on.
We had a rapport,
Hold on.
and we were
When did we
neighbors.
stop being friends? We wasn't friends, so when your gave you the STD and you hit the doctor stuck his arm up your stomach and you had just birthed your baby and cried on my shoulder, I wasn't your friend? When I used to
Miss
come to your
Watson.
house 3 or 4 days
Miss
out the
Watson.
week, I wasn't
Miss
your
Watson,
friend?
talk to me.
Okay,
Talk
ma'am.
to me.
Yes, ma'am. So anyways, Your Honor, I had done her tax return before. This was my 2nd year doing it. We never had a problem. You being my friend, I trusted your word. That's when I said, well, when it's deposited to your bank, pay me. If I would have known her
Or
bank
when the
account was
money
not
is
open,
received.
I
I
could've-
have not yet received the money.
This is interesting because you drafted this contract, and the agreement was when the money was deposited in her account, then that's when you get paid.
And that was in February.
But That's not what the contract states. The contract actually states that the defendant agrees to pay you, Casey Watson, $600 on or around February 27, 2014, or upon deposit of a federal refund check.
Can I explain to you what that means?
No, ma'am. Please don't interrupt me.
Yes, ma'am.
What that means is you agreed to pay her by a certain date with no conditions upon that, or you would pay when you got your federal refund check, one or the other. So the fact that you did not receive your refund check as you claim that you were defrauded, I don't know if that's true, I don't know if that's the case, doesn't matter because this contract says you owe her the money by February 27th anyway. So you owe her the $600 and you have to pay her the $600. I don't know what happened to your refund check. You can take that up with the IRS.
I have my paperwork that's under investigation.
You owe her $600 no matter what based on this contract. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600.
Thank you. And do I get my court costs, Your Honor? And do I get my court costs, Your Honor?
Yeah, they'll give it to you.
Thank you so much, Judge Faith Jenkins.
Plaintiff Bill Meeker says he thought he was helping the defendant when she was down on her luck by loaning her nearly $5,000. But now she's refusing to pay him back. Defendant Shannon Pinckney says she doesn't owe Bill anything because he injured her dog. She's countersuing for vet bills.
Okay, Bill Meeker.
Yes.
You are suing the defendant Shannon Pinckney for $4,400 for a loan you said the defendant failed to repay you?
Yes.
And Ms. Pinckney, you are countersuing for $5,000 for vet bills. You say the plaintiff kicked your dog and injured him?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Meeker, we'll start with you. What happened, sir?
In fall of 2013, she quit paying the rent.
Yeah, I quit paying my
So I
rent.
manage the property for somebody else. It's my responsibility to collect the rent. That's what we have rentals for. We worked with her. She was late dozens of times. We still let her slide and tried to make arrangements for her to be in there. A couple of weeks before she was going to be actually evicted, she came to me and begged me to stay in the place.
I begged to stay in a dump. Come on.
Because her daughter was going to graduate this past summer and she wanted to stay in there. She hadn't gone back to work yet because of her cancer and stuff like that.
Were you ill, Ms. Pinckney?
I was diagnosed soon after I moved into the duplex where I lived for 4 years, actually.
What were you diagnosed with? If you
I
don't
had
mind me
breast
asking?
cancer.
Okay. Are you doing better now?
I am. I'm in remission. Thank you.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that. Do you still live in the same apartment
heavens,
duplex?
no.
Okay. Okay, so you don't contest that you signed this agreement and this is what you agreed to, correct?
That he loaned me the money?
That's a yes or no question.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. There's a handwritten note at the bottom of this agreement that talks about a 1962 Chevy truck. What was the agreement about collateral involving this truck?
Because Shannon had a history of not paying money, not having a job, and not being able to have any money, I told her that nobody would ever make a loan without some kind of collateral. She reminded me about a truck that was in her driveway previously and said that she would be glad to give it as security for the loan. I said that that would be agreeable. I would loan the money if she would sign over the pink slip to me as security. As a clarification, just to make sure that she could get the truck back because it's worth more than the $4,400.
Way more.
I also added a little thing on the bottom that you can read there that says if she pays me the money back, then I'll be glad to transfer the title back into her name. There was no question about me taking the title,
Not true.
transferring it into my name, and subsequently transferring it back to Shannon after she had paid me.
So what happened? Hold on
Here's
1 second.
the problem, though. You put it in your name before the contract was even due, before the note was
Ms.
due.
Pinckney,
That's the whole
Ms.
idea
Pinckney,
of
I want you to
security.
explain to me what you're talking about. So there was an agreement that the truck would be turned over to the plaintiff if you didn't pay the full amount on or before May 20th, 2014. You're saying he signed the title over to himself before that date?
Correct.
And why did you do that, sir?
When it looked like she wasn't going to be as creditworthy as we had hoped she would, I went ahead and finalized my security by transferring it into my name.
Next on Judge Faith, one of these performances is about to get canceled.
I asked Shannon to control it. She did not do it. I kicked at it and missed.
He kicked her and caught her right underneath here in her chin, so it made her brain swell.
plaintiff Bill Meeker loaned the defendant nearly $5,000 that she is refusing to pay back. Defendant Shannon Pinckney says she doesn't know anything because the plaintiff injured her dog. She's countersuing for vet bills.
And you didn't take possession of the truck ever, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And where was the truck during this time period?
When he did that, probably in my driveway.
Did you turn over the truck to him as part of this agreement?
Absolutely not.
Why?
Because he came by my house in January. He kicked my dog so hard in the head that she had seizures for 3 weeks.
And that's your counterclaim.
That is my counterclaim.
Tell me about that.
He physically kicked her so hard.
This is all a lie.
It's a
You
lie.
saw that for yourself?
Huh?
You saw that?
I did see it. I saw it. A neighbor saw it. Another neighbor saw it.
Why did you kick her dog?
Because the dog attacked me. I'll be glad to talk about that.
Oh,
Abby attacked you? Do we have a picture of Abby? I want to see this attack dog.
Please.
Okay, and this is Abby?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Vicious.
Abby is a
This
cute
looks
dog.
like a really small dog.
And
She
a
is
friendly
small.
dog, only about maybe 15 inches or so.
She is not, you mean tall or
Yeah.
long? Okay.
Well, fat, it's fatter, but...
Okay, fat, whatever.
But
Oh, yeah. She's
but-
definitely going to hurt you.
Shannon did not always have that dog. She says 4 years. That's a lie, too.
Well, what
had that dog
happened?
since
What
she's been
happened, sir?
born.
Why did you kick the dog?
The dog was at the house, suddenly appeared at the house. When I asked her about, because it's contrary to the rental agreement for her to have a dog.
So why did you kick the dog?
Because the dog attacked me. The dog...
How did the dog attack you, sir?
A few weeks before that, Shannon had told me she was keeping the dog for her friend was in prison. She had taken it to the vet 2 or 3 times at a cost of several $100s because it was having seizures.
What did he do to her?
He kicked her and caught her right underneath here in her chin, and it jarred her head back, so it made her brain swell. She had horrible seizures.
What happened when you took Abby to the vet?
We took her to the vet almost instantly. The neighbor who actually saw it said, you need to get her in, because she looked almost confused, actually, like she didn't know where she was going. I have a video of what actually happened to her, an actual seizure that we taped for the vet. Not knowing we would end up here, I still have the video.
Okay, let's watch the video. Tell me what's happening here.
What's the date of this video?
Don't interrupt.
She still has those. We had to time them. We had to wait 5 minutes. And as you can see, she's clearly not, she's having a seizure there and she's not being vicious. She's just, we had to wait 5 minutes before we could give her a shot to make that stop.
The reason I was there at the duplex was part of the eviction process. I had to
Exactly.
post a
The two
notice.
of you weren't getting along. You were going over there about an eviction, and all of a sudden, after all the times you've been over there, now all of a sudden Abby wants to attack you, so much so that you have to kick her in the head.
She ran, yes, because she was under medication.
No.
That's what the vet bills were for, and that's what you told me they were for, and you told my handyman and me that she was aggressive
Bill,
because of the medication.
And you kicked
At
my
any
dog
rate,
in the head, and she
ran
did
out
nothing
of the
to you.
garage at me. I asked Shannon to control it. She did not do it. I kicked at it and missed.
Good
The dog
thing.
ran back about 6, 8, 10 feet. And I told Shannon again to get your dog under control. It's
and
coming
then you
at me.
kicked her in the
I
head.
kicked at it again
Kicked her
and
in the
missed.
head.
I've heard enough about that.
And now, Judge Faith rules.
I don't think that the dog was attacking you and that you kicked that dog because you were defending yourself from a vicious attack. After looking at the photos, after looking at the video of the dog, I just don't believe you. I don't believe you. And in looking at all of your vet bills as well, I'm not sure that he's responsible for the full amount of $5,000, but you do bear some responsibility because I think you injured this dog, and the dog suffered blunt force trauma because you kicked the dog, and I think you were angry. You were going over there. You guys were in the middle of an eviction,
Well, it's not true.
and you kicked the dog because you were upset.
That's not true.
Well, I think it is true.
Definitely true.
Okay.
On your claim against the defendant, I find that she did default on this agreement and that she does owe you $4,400 per your agreement. On your counterclaim, however, I find that the plaintiff did kick your dog and intentionally try to injure your dog, and it actually resulted in injury to your dog. So I find in your favor in the amount of $2,500.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So that means, sir, that there is a net judgment in your favor in the amount of $1,900. Verdict for the plaintiff.
former friend lived in his mini mansion for 14 years and then left it trashed when he was evicted.
He left the place in a pigsty. It was filthy. There was so much junk.
There was 13 years of stuff built up in a 4-level house.
How long did it take you to clean out the entire house?
Days. I had a crew of 7. It was a toxic waste dump.
And later, her son's ex-girlfriend borrowed large sums of money from her, then acted like it was a gift when the relationship ended.
This is online, so when people go to check in on me, they see this, and this is looking like I don't pay my bill.
Well, you don't.
When I didn't give her this month.
That was why she was evicted. You were evicted because you didn't pay your bill.
I get people who come in here all day, every day, and tell me stories, but you tell some doozies.
Faith Jenkins. Her distinguished legal career began when she graduated first in her law school class. She quickly became a tough New York City prosecutor and then a preeminent legal analyst on cable news. And now she's the judge in her own courtroom. Her cases are real and her rulings are final. She is Judge Faith. Plaintiff Michael Rogers says his former friend leased a mini mansion from him for over 14 years and then quickly moved out, leaving extensive damage. He's suing for home repairs and cleaning. Defendant Danny Saber says he left the mini mansion in good condition and his friend is being unreasonable.
Remain seated and come to order. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Faith Jenkins presiding. Your Honor, this is Rogers versus Saber.
Thank you, Barbara. Michael Rogers.
Yes.
You were suing the defendant, Daniel Saber, for $25,000 for home repairs and back rent you say he owes you?
That's correct.
And you understand the statutory maximum in my court is $5,000?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How did the two of you know each other?
He actually got us started in my recording studio. We're both in the music business.
Okay.
And then he went on to do very well, and he was making good money.
So you've been in the music industry for a long time. Who have you guys worked with?
Everybody. Madonna, DJ Quick, Bitter Girls, NWA, Booyah Tribe, all types of people. And he's worked with some great people, too.
And are you a producer?
Producer and studio owner and writer. And I also build houses, which that's what makes the difference between him and I. I diversified into real estate, and he did not.
How much was the rent you were paying?
By the time I checked out of there, it was $5,000 a month.
$5,000?
You know?
How large is the house?
It's big. Humongous.
It's big. It's 4 stories. It's all marble. It's handcrafted. 21 years ago, I actually built it. I can't believe I had enough energy to do it. Obviously I had help, but it's a very beautiful custom-built house, and he used to call it the Wow Factor.
It's an amazing house. That's not the issue here.
And did you live there by yourself?
With my wife, yeah. And, we were running the studio out of there. It was a reflection of me. I took so much pride in that house, as did my wife, and I don't think Michael would disagree. We took amazing care of it. We were there for so long. And essentially what happened was, people know the bottoms dropped out of the music business. I've had a tough time the last year maintaining the rent. It had been stressful for me and Michael. And Michael, we had a good relationship, and we actually sat down and when things were looking like, something had to give because it was becoming really stressful. I wasn't generating enough income. So the bottom line is we sat down and I said,
May
look,
I see
Michael,
a photo of the house, please?
We decided that we would come to a certain date, and if I wasn't caught up by that date and in a position to sort of know we were going to be solid for a little while, I would get out. I waived all my rights. People were telling me he has to evict you, and it will take him 4 months to get a court order. And it's like, I don't want to do that to my friend.
We both went down to a notary, and he said he would leave and vacate the property.
May I see that, please?
This is what he signed, and it's notarized. We both went together.
And so at this point, he had not paid rent in June, July, and...
Going on the 3rd month. He's been slow on the rent each month.
And he had been giving me a lot of leeway, and that's why I went to sit with him and we worked this out. But the point is, Your Honor, that,
So he was paying $5,000 a month at this point?
He was, but he had not.
In a couple
this
months.
Is the worst thing.
But I had been paying money at bits and pieces what I could.
This is not even the issue. The real issue is this.
What's the real issue, Michael?
When he left the place in a pigsty. It was filthy. There was so much junk. I had so many bags that had to be bagged and tagged. It was a toxic waste dump.
In that window of me trying to pull it together and really realizing, okay, we had that, I started looking around and started gearing up to get out. There was 13 years of stuff built up in a 4-level house that I was running as a business. People would come and drop stuff off, et cetera, et cetera. I was the only person capable of actually going through the stuff and figuring out what was going on. I started that process. Then at the point where, you know, we kind of got towards close to the date, I was reaching out to Michael. He was out of town. He had personal things. I was trying to communicate and just say, hey, man, look, I know we made this tape, but this is just not realistic. I got to start by getting, you know, I'm doing the best I can. I'm cooperating. I'm not turning around and reneging on the deal, but I'm going to need a little leeway.
Let me see some photos of what the inside of the home looked like after you moved out, sir.
It was just stuff. That's the garage, Your Honor. That is not my stuff. Right? There was other tenants that had left stuff, and there was stuff.
Well, I mean, you lived there for 14 years,
right,
so why would anyone else's stuff be in there?
Because we had a roommate. I had a number of roommates over the years.
At this point, you're living there by yourself. You're responsible to clean the place out.
Fair enough.
Okay, next photo. Why are you leaving all of, you're saying you just didn't have enough time?
He ran me off. I mean, by the time I got he was, you know, saying he's going to send people to take my stuff away, and this was all leading up, and it was really stressful. My wife was sick. I was basically working on my own. I had to borrow the money to move the valuable things.
Where did you move to?
And I had to put some stuff in storage, and I'm sort of staying with between relatives right now. I mean, I'm really in a jam.
So most of your things are in storage?
Yeah, they're put away now.
Okay.
And then on top of it, I wasn't able to generate any income for 2 weeks really leading up to this because I was trying to deal with moving everything.
Basically, I had to carry the stuff out, and Goodwill would not take any of his stuff. They wouldn't take any of his clothes. They considered it to be not suitable for Goodwill. He had an 80s lifestyle in the year 2014, and they just didn't want the stuff, and I had to cart it away and pay for it. And I had a crew of 7 working for days to move the stuff out, some of which would not touch the stuff because they thought somebody died in there.
Coming up on Judge Faith, was Michael or Danny responsible for the major mess in the mini mansion?
You were threatening me and scaring me, and you ran me off.
The mess that he left me, I would not leave to my worst enemy.
We have to distinguish between normal wear and tear and getting the place ready to release.
And later, did this ex try to evade a bill she had with her boyfriend's mother?
She called me and stated that she needed an additional amount of money. So I was like, well, I can loan you this money.
Not true. I actually called her son to ask her son for the money.
This bank statement does not show what you did with the money, where you sent it, who you sent it to.
Plaintiff Michael Rogers says his former tenant stopped paying rent and practically destroyed his mini mansion. He's suing for home repairs and cleaning. Defendant Danny Saber says he did his best to leave the mini mansion in good condition, but his friend ran him out.
All he was interested in is get out, I want to get another tenant. And really, essentially, he ran me off. I told you, Michael, I never intended to leave it this way.
Okay, so let's go over your lawsuit because you understand that we have to distinguish between normal wear and tear and getting the place ready to release and remodeling.
That's correct.
And doing upkeep. Tell me about some of the expenses you've incurred since he's moved out and what you've had to do to make repairs.
Right. I understand painting is not a problem, okay? Normal wear and tear, not a problem, but I had to rip the whole carpet out. That's not even a problem because after 14
years never changed the carpet.
Right.
I'm okay.
Carpet is supposed to be replaced after 5 years.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But the mess that he left me, I would not leave to my worst enemy. I mean, he just completely, and you know, just junk, and it was just useless junk. You know, I mean, it's just stuff that I couldn't even give it to somebody.
How much did it cost for you to have all of that stuff removed?
Thousands of dollars. All the repairs on the mirrors and the broken glass and this and that. That was not normal wear and tear in the house. And yes, his place appeared to be okay.
Other than the...
But when you when you walk in the house, but nobody looked in the closets, nobody looked in the upstairs, nobody looked in the garage, and there was so much junk in there.
14 years with building up of stuff. I never had a chance to...
It's hoarding, and it's a disease. I understand, but it is what it is. It's hoarding. And you left your mess, and I had to clean it up.
I'm not disputing that, but I'm saying why did that happen?
Why did you do it?
Because we lost track of communication.
I thought we were
friends. You were threatening me and scaring me, and you ran me off.
I'm not a threatening person. I live right next. I live right down the street from him. He has to pass my house every day to go to the store.
You told me you would have people show up and take all my stuff if I wasn't out at 9 a.m.
How long did it take you to clean out the entire house?
Days. I had a crew of 7 laborers, and they were. I had to do some of the work because they wouldn't even touch some of the stuff.
So did you use any of the $8,000? You had last month's rent, and then you had the security deposit. Did you use that towards the damages?
Yeah, I'm still way in the hole. I used everything, and I live off my rents now. My music business is not as good, just like his is.
And that's why I left, Your Honor. As a friend, I got out when I was in the process.
Like I said, he had a beautiful, it's a big, beautiful house. It's bigger than mine. I wish I could afford to live there myself, but I have to rent it so I can survive. I'm a single parent and I have a kid. And you know what, if he would have just left the place clean, that would have made a big difference because that was a really slap in the face to me, Danny.
But Michael, again, you ran me off. You weren't acting rational, Michael. You were threatening me, and I was under a tremendous amount of pressure.
You were 3 months behind, and he left me a mess.
But then I left on my own. I left on my own
Here's
accord.
my judgment and my ruling in this case. Based on all of the evidence submitted in this case, I've seen many more photos than we put on the flat screen. The plaintiff submitted several photos of the condition you left the property in, sir, and he submitted over $9,000 in receipts for items that he's had to purchase in order to fix the place back up again. And I understand there's normal wear and tear, but based on my analysis, just the 3 months of back rent you admit to owing exceeds the $5,000 statutory maximum in this courtroom. So my judgment in this case is for the plaintiff. You owe him $5,000, sir. $5,000 verdict for the plaintiff. Have a good day.
Plaintiff Charlize McBride says her son's ex-girlfriend took advantage of her kindness by borrowing money from her and refusing to pay it back. She's suing for the cost of a car loan, bail bond, and eviction fees. Defendant Taranisha Vickens says she paid back the car loan in cash and never asked the plaintiff to bail her out of jail. She's countersuing for defamation of character.
Charlize McBride?
Yes.
You were suing the defendant, Taranisha Vickens?
Yes.
For $2,806, the cost of a car loan, bail bond, and eviction fees from an apartment?
Correct.
And you are countersuing for $1,000 for defamation of character?
Correct.
Okay, I'll start with you, Ms. McBride. How do you know the defendant?
I know the defendant from my son. She dated him somewhere between 2008, 2009. And during that time period, she borrowed some money from me. Tara went to Chicago to visit her uncle, and she was going to be purchasing a vehicle by an auction. She called me and stated that she needed an additional amount of monies, that she had put some money down, and that if she did not have an additional amount, which was at that time $800, that she would lose the amount that she already had put down. And so I was like, well, I can loan you this money.
Now, you're saying she called you directly,
She
not
called
your
me
son.
from Chicago.
Okay.
Directly, because she did have my phone number.
Okay, so what do you have to say about that?
Not true. I actually called her son to ask her son for the money because I was in Chicago, not visiting relatives. I don't have any relatives who live in Chicago. I was actually in Chicago to purchase the vehicle, and I put a certain amount of money down with the understanding that once I put that money down, I will only owe another $1,000. Not true. So I got to Chicago to buy the vehicle. They told me that I had to pay an additional $600 to get that vehicle. I called upon my boyfriend to ask him for the money. He told me he did not have it. He would talk to his mom and to call his mother.
Well, did you talk to her directly?
I did talk to her about that. She did say that she would put the money into my account. I did thank her, and I did agree to pay her that money back, which I have. We actually went out to lunch and everything. We did continue to have a relationship after her, after myself and her son broke it off.
But that has nothing to do with the fact that she owes me my money.
Coming up, was Taranisha taking advantage of Charlize's kindness or just gracefully accepting her gift?
Then she got arrested for a ticket, and she called my house at the middle of the night, and my husband and I went to bail her out.
You're in court today telling me that you didn't ask her for the money, so you feel like you don't have to pay her back.
Plaintiff Charlize McBride says the plaintiff took advantage of her kindness. She's suing for the cost of a car loan, bail bond, and eviction fees. Defendant Taranisha Vickens says she paid the car loan back in cash and never asked the plaintiff for bail money. She's countersuing for defamation of character.
Ma'am, please go on.
When she was still owing me the $800, then she got arrested for a ticket, and she called my house at the middle of the night, and my husband and I went to bail her out. That was $400. So that was an additional added to the $800.
So that's a total of $1,200.
Now that we're at $1,200 at this point, and this was around December.
So you didn't ask her for any money. You asked her son to bail you out. And so you feel that you don't owe for that as well.
Correct, because I never asked her for it. I did not know she was coming.
Why isn't your son here, ma'am?
My son, he's not here because he lives in New York and he was not able to get off work. But I have evidence supporting my argument against the things that she has done.
Okay, so what evidence do you have to
I
show
have
that
a
it was
promissory
loan?
note that she signed.
Did you sign a promissory note?
I did.
Yes.
Okay,
She
saying
signed
that you
it.
owed the money?
I did.
Let me see the promissory note, please.
And on this promissory note down here at the bottom is also the ticket from when she got arrested, because I took the copy because I paid the $400.
I did tell her that I would give her her money back. I'm not arguing that. What I am arguing is that I have given her her money back. The $200 that I started paying her monthly, I don't have that account bank statement because that account was due to fraudulent. It was closed due to fraudulent
Okay, so you don't have proof.
And I
when
don't
you come
have
to court,
that. But
you have to have proof.
I have proof from my last bank account showing that on the 22nd of June, I paid her $280. Then on the 27th of June, I paid her $260.
Did she pay you any money?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, so let me see that. Let me see that. You're giving me a bank statement that shows you withdrew money out of your account. This bank statement does not show what you did with the money, where you sent it, who you sent it to. If you want me to accept as proof that you paid someone back, the only fact you have to support that is that you took cash out of your bank account. It is wholly and completely insufficient. That's what I'm telling you. So you're also suing for a personal loan for eviction, $1,605.67.
Correct.
Tell me about that.
And on this particular one, because of her credit, she was unable to get an apartment. My son, because of his credit, if he would co-sign, that this will allow her to be able to get into
So
her
they got
apartment.
an apartment together,
No,
both of
they
their
did not get an
names.
apartment together. He co-signed. He didn't live with her.
He didn't co-sign.
Okay.
He signed.
Do you want?
May I see a copy of the
Okay.
lease? Yes.
This is the copy of the lease and the date of sign as well as the date of the eviction.
I'm sure you're saying you don't owe for this
And
either.
as
Tell
of
me why.
This is
No,
highlighted.
this I actually don't owe for because I actually never
Barbara, would you
called
hand that to
on
me,
her.
This is the
to
highlighted
pay
where she
this.
stated that she would be paying me.
Because I did still owe her money from her bailing me out. I knew I still owed her that. But as far as this eviction, I also have emails where I'm clearly stating to her in these emails, I don't owe you any more than $200, maybe $4. Correct me if I am wrong, because I didn't call on her.
And did I correct you and say you are wrong?
No, you didn't. You didn't say anything.
I did not say that you were. That I never sent you an email and said that you were incorrect.
You expect me to believe you are no longer involved with her son, the two of you are no longer dating, and that she's continuing just giving you money.
And now, Judge Faith rules.
You have a counterclaim for defamation of character.
This is online now that she's suing me for this large lump sum of money. This is online, so when people go to check in on me, they see this, and this is looking like I don't pay my bill.
Well, you don't.
When I didn't give her this money.
That was why she was evicted. You were evicted because you didn't pay your bill.
Actually, I was evicted because my roommate stole money out of my account.
Okay.
That's why I was evicted.
It's always a story,
Why would
Your
you
Honor.
be evicted because your roommate stole money from your
Exactly.
account? What does
money
that have
out
to
of
do with
my
your
account,
apartment?
and when I sent in my rent check, it bounced.
I get people who come in here all day, every day, and tell me stories, but you tell some doozies. My verdict in this case is for the plaintiff. You owe her $800 for the car loan. I do not believe you paid her 1 red cent of that money. You owe her $400 for bailing you out. What I do find is that your son was a co-signer on the lease, so he should be responsible for half of that $1,600.
Right.
So I'm ordering you to pay the plaintiff $2,002 plus her court costs. Judgment in this case for the plaintiff. Your counterclaim is dismissed, ma'am. Have a good day.
Tension shift into high gear when a bicycle and a car collide.
I was hurt, but at that time I didn't realize how serious the injuries were.
And they're both pointing the finger at each other.
I got in the car and I looked, and was nobody coming.
Well, it was someone coming, you just didn't see him because he hit your car in a matter of seconds, right?
Yes.
I'm going to need to have surgery.
What kind of surgery?
Arthroscopic surgery on my knee.
Wow, so this is a pretty serious accident.
Yeah.
And later,
What was the damage to your home?
It was over $8,000.
Who's behind all of this property damage?
That's the engine to your car?
Yes.
Completely burned. Wow. We have to take responsibility for the damage caused to someone else's property when accidents happen. That's it.
Faith Jenkins. Her distinguished legal career began when she graduated first in her law school class. She quickly became a tough New York City prosecutor and then a preeminent legal analyst on cable news. And now she's the judge in her own courtroom. Her cases are real and her rulings are final. She is Judge Faith. Plaintiff Jeff Moss is seeking $10,000 for injuries and a damaged bicycle after a violent collision with the defendant's car. Defendant Emmanuel Pitts claims that the plaintiff was at fault and is countersuing for $465 in damages to his car.
Remain seated and come to order. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Faith Jenkins presiding. Your Honor, we have Moss versus Pitts.
Thank you, Barbara. Jeff Moss?
Yes.
You are suing the defendant Emmanuel Pitts for $10,000.
That's correct.
For the cost of a bicycle, helmet replacement, pain and suffering and court costs?
Correct.
And you are countersuing, sir, for $465 damages to your car?
Yes.
So the two of you were involved in an accident?
Yes.
Right. Okay, where was the accident?
It was on the UCLA campus.
Okay, do you work at UCLA?
Yes.
Okay, and what do you do there?
I do maintenance.
Can you speak up for me?
Maintenance.
Okay, tell me what happened.
Sure. I bike ride every day for exercise. I ride about 200 miles a week.
Okay, good for you.
I use the UCLA campus to get to where I need to go because it's specifically marked for bikes. Okay. I was riding through campus, came up to a stop sign, stopped, got on my bike, rode about another 50 feet. Then all of a sudden, Mr. Pitts pulled out of a parking spot. And it's not like he pulled out of a parking spot slowly. It's like he pulled out as if he was making a U-turn. Real sharp turn out of the spot, didn't indicate. I hit his car. Next thing I know, I was holding on for dear life, dropped my bike, and almost fell.
Did you flip over his car?
No, I did not.
Okay.
My impact was with his driver's door.
Okay. What were you doing? Were you making a U-turn on the street?
Yeah, I wasn't making. I was just turning out to get out the parking lot to go the other way.
Okay. And so what happened when you hit his car?
My whole right side hit his car. My bike, front of my bike, and the side of the bike took most of the impact. Mm-hmm. The bike fell. I don't know how, but I landed up on my feet.
Okay.
Once I got myself together, he got out of the car and we started talking. I asked him for his driver's license, insurance information, and he refused to give it to me.
Okay. Did you not see him when he was riding his bike down the road?
No.
Okay. Did you look behind you?
Yeah, I looked.
You just didn't see anyone there?
No.
All right. Go ahead. What happened? Were you injured or how was the bike damaged?
I was hurt, but at that time I didn't realize how serious the injuries were. I was more, I guess, in shock and the adrenaline was flowing than anything. This is a very specialized type of bicycle.
What kind of bicycle is it?
It's made out of carbon fiber, a very limited production hand-built bicycle.
When did you buy it?
I bought it 2011.
How much did you pay for it then?
About $6,000.
Okay, and so how was it damaged?
So the impact of the car hit mainly the wheels, which were demolished, the crank area, as well as the down tube, and these are called chain stays.
Can I see damages on the bike now, or has it been fixed?
It has not. It's not repairable.
Did you call the police?
Yes, I did.
Do you have a police report?
I do.
Let me look at the police sketch of the scene from that day. Can you just walk over to the flat screen and show me which arrow represents you?
Sure. This is me here, vehicle 2.
Okay, so that's you traveling in that direction, and then that car is...
Yeah, and it was more of a turn,
Pitts.
more like that than like that.
All right, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Pitts, were you given a ticket from the police?
No.
Did they find that you were at fault for the accident?
He said yes.
The police did?
Yeah.
Okay, and do you know why?
No.
They said because Mr. Moss had the right of way. And he was traveling down the street and he had the right of way and you failed to yield to him traveling down the street on his bicycle, so they found you to be at fault for the accident. Are you aware of that?
No.
You were not aware of that?
Oh, yeah, when he told me, yeah, I was aware of it.
Okay, did you have insurance on your car?
At that time, no, I didn't, because I was about to go get another insurance on my car.
So you were between insurance?
Yeah, I didn't have it then, but I was going.
But you were on your way to the insurance company to get insurance that day. Is that what you're saying?
Your Honor, may I add something?
The next day I was going, and that's when everything happened.
Right.
Coming up on Judge Faith, someone's cruising for a bruising.
When he hit me and I asked him for his ID and proof of insurance, he did refuse to give it to me.
Did you do that, Mr. Pitts?
No.
You don't sound very convincing with that no.
And later, things heat up.
She wanted a ride, and then all of a sudden she didn't call me to tell me she had a ride to get her car. Her car was already there.
Plaintiff Jeff Moss is suing for injuries and damages to his bicycle after a violent collision with the defendant's car. Defendant Emmanuel Pitts claims that the plaintiff was at fault and is countersuing for damages to his car.
How long were you without car insurance on your car, sir?
2 days.
Just a 2-day lapse?
Yeah.
Just a brief oversight?
Yeah.
Okay. It's 2 days too many, Mr. Pitts. You know that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so why do you think you're not responsible to pay for the damage onto his bicycle?
When I got in the car and I looked, and I turned it on, then I looked again, wasn't nobody coming, and then I proceeded.
Well, it was someone coming, you just didn't see him.
Well.
Because he hit your car in a matter of seconds, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he was there.
Yeah. Yes.
And the police responded and they found you to be at fault, so why don't you think you owe money for damages?
Because he wasn't hurt. He wasn't, nothing wrong with him. He hit my car, boom, he got up. I asked him, was he all right? He said, yes.
Are you a medical expert, sir?
No.
Okay. You don't think you owe for damages because you couldn't see the damages with your physical eye? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Your Honor, I would also like to add that when he hit me and I asked him for his ID and proof of insurance, he did refuse to give it to me. Then he disclosed to me he wasn't insured. When the police came, he actually showed the police officer a valid insurance certificate. And after the police left...
Did you do that, Mr. Pitts?
No.
You don't sound very convincing with that no.
Yeah, no.
I have a copy of it, Your Honor.
Oh, you have a copy of his insurance card?
Yes.
How did he get a copy of your insurance card?
Then I gave it to him because the police told me I have to give it to him, so I gave it to him.
But you knew you didn't have insurance?
Yes.
And so you gave him an insurance card, basically...
Yes.
Inferring that you had insurance coverage when you knew you didn't?
Yes.
It's not going very well for you, Mr. Pitts, today. Just letting you know. All right.
And I asked him after why he lied to the police officer, and he said, well, I didn't want the police to tow my car.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you have insurance now on your car, sir?
Yes.
All right. Make sure you keep your car insured. You're countersuing for $465 to damages to your car. Why should I award you any damages when you're driving around uninsured?
Well, I have insurance on my car now.
But that day, back then...
But that day, I didn't have it.
Right.
Because I was changed it to another insurance company.
I understand you were between insurance companies. I got it. Okay. Do you have photos of your injury, sir? How were you injured?
At the time, I thought I broke my ribs.
Is this mark on your face from this bike accident? You had another accident
since then?
That's just my good looks. What?
That's just my good looks.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All right.
So the injuries that I had, my shoulders and ribs were hurt, but the main injury I have is I have a cracked bone in my knee, and I'm going to need to have surgery.
Okay.
I do have health insurance, and it is covering all of the injury portion of the accident.
Okay.
Actually, my auto insurance covers the injury portion of my accident.
And the auto insurance didn't cover the bicycle?
Because it's considered property. If I was driving a car, it would have been covered, but it excludes motorcycles, ATVs, bicycles, things like that.
Okay, let me see a photo of your injuries. What are we looking at here?
My left shoulder and my ribs.
Okay.
You mainly see it on my arm, the bruising there.
Okay, next photo. Ouch, it looks like it hurt.
Yeah, that's my arm.
Were you on crutches?
Yeah, I was on crutches for 6 weeks.
Was surgery averted?
No, I'm going to need to have surgery.
What kind of surgery?
Arthroscopic surgery on my knee.
Wow, so this is a pretty serious accident.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I've heard enough. Mr. Pitts, your counterclaim is dismissed, sir. You perhaps had some damage to your car, but I generally don't award damages to people who are in accidents and don't have insurance. Okay?
Okay.
You were driving your car illegally without insurance, and I know you say you were between insurance companies, but I'm happy to hear that you have insurance today, but your counterclaim is dismissed. Two parts to this case. There's liability and there's damages. The police responded. They found you to be liable for the accident, sir, and I credit what I see on the report and the plaintiff's testimony. I do find you to be at fault for this accident and to be responsible. And then there is the issue of damages. The plaintiff fortunately has health insurance, and they are going to cover his out-of-pocket expenses if indeed he has to have surgery. But I am going to order you, sir, to pay him to replace his bicycle. As you know, the statutory maximum in my court is $5,000.
I do, Your Honor.
So I'm going to order you to pay, based on the proof that he has submitted, I find the proof to be sufficient. It's actually probably going to cost him more than $5,000 to replace the bike. So I'm going to order you to pay $5,000. Verdict for the plaintiff. Good luck.
Plaintiff Colleen Clarkin says that her former roommate's car caught fire in her driveway, causing major damage to the house. She is suing for $10,000 in fees and damages. Defendant Lindsay Pojar says that she owes nothing because she was doing the plaintiff a favor at the time of the accident.
Colleen Clarkin, you are suing the defendant, Lindsay Pojar, for $10,000, $5,000 for a home insurance deductible, and $5,000 for fire damages to your home. And you understand that the maximum award in this court is $5,000?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So why don't you tell me what happened? How do you know the defendant, and how did she cause fire damage to your home?
I met her in 2010 at a mutual friend's house, and then I met her again in 2011. And she was in an abusive relationship with someone, and
Can you speak up for me?
I offered for her to move to my house, and it took her till November of 2011 to come to my house with 2 black eyes.
But
And
that has nothing to do with this.
But that's how our friendship was.
So you offered her your home to move into?
Yeah,
And how
to
long
get her
did you
away
know
from
her? How long did you know her prior to that?
Since 2010 in November.
Okay, did she move in as a tenant or more so as a roommate? Was she paying rent to live
She
there?
paid $200 a month, and she rented the room up next to my room and the washer and dryer.
Okay, do you want to respond to anything she just said?
I did move in, and yes, she did get me out of an abusive relationship, and I thank her for that, but that has nothing to do with this or the damages.
Okay, but the two of you were friends at that time?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
and so what happened after that? How long did you live in her townhome?
Maybe a year, year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Okay, and what happened?
On May 8th, which was Mother's Day of 2011, I called and asked her if she would come and give me a ride to go get my car. And she didn't really give me an answer, yes or no. And before she came to my house, my son had driven, and I drove him back to his dad's, and my car was in my garage. And then all of a sudden, I heard her open the door.
So she wasn't living there at the time?
Yeah, she was.
Okay.
But she was really never there. But she did come that day that I had called her, and she said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "You know what? I got my car back. It's in the garage, Lindsay, and I'm not going to go anywhere." She went into the kitchen, got some grapes, and went to walk out and started jumping up and down. "Colleen, call 911. My car's on fire." And I was like, "What?" And I walked down there, and there were flames coming, and we could hear the fire trucks coming.
So it was a huge fire?
Well, look, we couldn't walk out the front door.
Wow.
Coming up on Judge Faith. Judge Faith sees some compelling evidence.
Okay, what are we looking at here?
That is my garage. The inside, the insulation all melted.
Wow.
Plaintiff Colleen Clarkin is suing her former roommate for damages to her house. Defendant Lindsay Pojar says she's not responsible. She was just doing the plaintiff a favor at the time.
Ma'am, how did your car catch on fire?
I'm not sure. But the reason why I went back to the house because she was calling me and bugging me because her son had her car at prom at the hotel, and she wanted to get her car back from her son. So that's,
Okay.
I was going there to give her a ride.
Well, I
get my
understand
car,
that, but,
to get her car.
your car caught on fire while you were there, so I'm asking
Yes.
you how that happened.
I don't know.
Okay. Was it ever investigated? Did the fire department respond?
I don't believe so. The fire department responded, but I don't know if they investigated it.
You said you suffered property damage as a result of that. What happened?
There was a big hole. There's pictures I have of the
Okay, let's see them.
Damage.
And did you have insurance on the car?
I had a card saying I had insurance, but
That's not
you pay
what I
for
asked
6
you, ma'am. Did you have insurance on the car?
My dad had just canceled it.
Okay, and why would your dad be handling your insurance?
Because it was under him.
Okay. Okay, what are we looking at here?
That is my garage. The inside, the insulation all melted.
Oh, okay, so
In the
this is from
fire
the
truck.
inside out?
Yep.
Was this taken the day of the incident or the next day?
Same day.
Okay.
They put the fire out.
Wow. That's the engine to your car?
Yes.
Completely burned?
Yes.
So was this an explosion or what?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
There was no smoke driving to her house, and the only reason why I went to the house because she wanted a ride to get her car.
That's irrelevant.
And normally I don't even park up towards the garage.
You always parked on the street.
No, I always park towards the back of the driveway.
Well, on this day, you parked near the garage.
Because I was running in to tell her I was here to give her a ride.
Okay, ma'am, again, it has no relevance why you were at her home. The fact is you were there and your car caught on fire and her home suffered damage as a result, okay?
Right.
So we're past that now. What is this a photo of?
My car's hood.
Okay, what's the next photo? Ma'am, is this the front of your garage?
Yes.
Okay, so what was the damage to your home?
It was over $8,000.
Your Honor, I don't know how it can be $8,000. As you can see, none of the rock is damaged.
Ma'am, are you an expert on garage door damages?
No, but she didn't need a new garage door, Your Honor.
Okay, do you have any independent evidence to support what you're saying? That her statement for damages is
I have a
inaccurate?
driveway estimate.
That's not what I asked you. Ma'am, I see your estimate for damages.
I've got what they estimated. They fixed it within 30 days, and it was $8,438.
Did you have insurance to cover this?
I had homeowners, and my homeowners did give me $1,000, but it cost over $4,000. It was $4,786 just for the garage door that I didn't think they were going to replace. They were only talking about the insulation, but once they seen the damage, they replaced the whole garage door, and that cost $4,786.
Coming up, Judge Faith rules. And now, Judge Faith rules.
Okay, so I see here replacement cost value for the garage door, $4,784.76, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so...
And I only got $1,000.
You got $1,000 in the insurance coverage.
Right.
So the rest of that had to be paid out of pocket.
Yep.
Okay, and you had no insurance to cover any of this, correct?
No.
So what is your defense as to why you don't owe her for her out-of-pocket expenses for the garage door?
I was doing
the fact that you came over because she called you?
She wanted a ride. And then all of a sudden she didn't call me to tell me she had a ride to get her car. Her car was already there. I wouldn't have even been there at the time.
Doing a favor for someone because you show up at someone's house to do them a favor.
My house too,
is not a defense. Your house, her house. You live there. You drove there like you do every day because you lived in the home. You parked your car in the driveway. And listen, I'm not saying you intentionally blew up your car to damage her home. It was an accident. Accidents happen.
Yes.
But understand that when accidents happen, sometimes we have to take responsibility for the damage caused to someone else's property when accidents happen. That's it. Yes. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, you didn't have insurance because your father canceled your insurance policy on your car. You are responsible for the damage that your car caused to the townhome. You have not given me a reason today that would justify you not paying for her out-of-pocket expenses. I'm ruling. We're finished. And so my judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,784.76. That is the value of the replacement for the garage door minus the $1,000 you got in the deductible. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Their day of combating was all fun and games until this happened to his expensive new drone.
Boys and their toys, I tell you.
And later, this couple's love affair was in a holding pattern.
So kissing me, showing me affection is now routine. You know, you're a flight attendant. You say the same 3 announcements every flight. That's routine.
You know, she confronted me with the relationship, and then I moved out.
Until emotional turbulence forced one of them to ground the relationship permanently.
That's really serious. And it's really vindictive. And it's really below the belt. You can't mess with somebody's livelihood and their job.
Faith Jenkins. Her distinguished legal career began when she graduated first in her law school class. She quickly became a tough New York City prosecutor and then a preeminent legal analyst on cable news. And now she's the judge in her own courtroom. Her cases are real and her rulings are final. She is Judge Faith. The plaintiff, Rocco Frateroli, says his drone was destroyed when it collided midair with the defendant's plane. He is suing for damages. But the defendant, Dan Anima, claims it's not his fault. He says Rocco was negligent and knew the risks of collision associated with combating. Joining him in court is his friend, Chris Abencoura.
Remain seated and come to order. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Faith Jenkins presiding. Your Honor, this case is Frateroli versus Anima.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, Mr. Frateroli, you are suing the defendant, Dan Anima, for $5,400. You say he's responsible for damaging your remote-controlled helicopter.
That is correct.
You understand that the statutory maximum in our court is $5,000.
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
I was flying at the RC park. I actually bought this brand new Evo S800. It's a drone RC helicopter. It's a 6-propeller.
When did you buy it?
I bought it on the first week of March 1st.
Okay, and how much did you pay for it?
I paid almost over $9,000 for it.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
and what does it do?
What it does is it's a controlled unit that stabilizes in the air, and it uses GPS functions to go ahead and hold itself in a stable position so that you could add a camera to it and then record whatever you want to film with it.
At some point you agreed to use your drone to record their helicopters flying around, sort of dogfighting. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, first, Rocco came out there with the drone and obviously didn't know anything about it. He said he crashed it 4 times prior and he was asking for help. And was all excited about it. And one of the guys, Rick, had explained to him everything, the safety out there. And he actually told him, we don't fly the helicopters and planes together. They're very dangerous. And basically, if you crash your stuff, we just pick our stuff up, we go home, and then...
So when you say you don't fly helicopters and planes together, you're referring to his drone as a helicopter and your planes that you were flying around as the planes?
Correct.
Okay, and you don't want to fly those together. Why?
Actually, in our field, the helicopters are always crashing, the drones are always crashing, and they're just dangerous.
Okay.
So we kind of stay away from them.
So what happens? How did you end up flying together?
Well, Chris actually was he's
Chris, you want to step up and tell me what happened? Yeah. Were you there that day?
Yeah. I was asked by Rocco to kind of help instruct him how to fly this thing because he just had bought it, never flown it before.
Is that true?
Yeah, I just bought it. I've only had it for about a week.
Okay, go ahead.
He said he had crashed it 4 times earlier that morning. Didn't have any success, so he came out to our field looking for help. Everybody pointed him my way.
We have video of this crash, right?
Yes.
So tell me what happens. How do you all get the drone and the planes up in the air together? What happens?
It was May 9th. This was the second day. It was a Sunday. There was going to be the 3rd flight of the day. Rocco wanted to proceed and fly another flight, and I was going to operate the camera. He was going to fly his drone. I kind of stopped him. I said, we shouldn't fly because Dan and Doug were in the air at the time flying together, and they were flying combat, which kind of, they were trying to hit each other in the air.
Is that called dogfighting with 2 planes? Okay.
Yeah, dogfighting, combating, but they're intentionally trying to hit each other.
Okay.
So I told Rocco, we should wait.
Why do you put your drone up in the air while the 2 helicopters are flying around dogfighting?
Well,
was it to record the activity?
Yes, it was to record their activity as they were doing the dogfighting. So what happened was...
Your Honor, it was a demo reel for his business.
Okay, is that true? That's fine. I just want to know. Why did you want to record the dogfight?
Well, I told the defendant I was going to put it on their video, on their website also.
Okay, so let's see what happens. So this is your drone recording everything that's happening now, right?
That is correct.
And those are the airplanes circling around?
Yes. And you can see...
Okay, let's hear it. Boys and their toys, I tell you.
And we're just out there just, we're a bunch of retired guys mostly and relaxing and having a good time out there.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. So your plane hit his drone?
Hit the drone.
But how did that happen? Were you supposed to be that close to the drone? That was an accident, right?
Yeah, it's hard to determine where they're at up there when you're flying them. I just try to come around and make a circle around it for him so he can get his video for his business. And when it crashed and hit the ground, we were actually all shocked at the moment.
Coming up, When playing with the big boys got too rough, he took his toys and went to court.
He started being a baby about everything. He said, I'm going to call the police on you. They're going to come out to your house. And I told him, I said, you know what, Rocco, we're done talking.
But I want to explain something to you. Accidents happen, dogfighting them and intentionally trying to hit them in the air, and you were aware of that situation.
And later, Judge Faith calls this feuding couple out in court for bad behavior.
I was a prosecutor, did criminal cases in Manhattan, and I witnessed women who were abused on a daily basis. And it's cases like yours that make it difficult for people to take women with real issues seriously.
Rocco says his drone was destroyed when it collided midair with the defendant's plane. He is suing for damages. But Dan claims it's not his fault. He says Rocco was negligent and he knew the risks associated with flying his drone in a dogfight.
I told Rocco, we can fix this. He was panicking, which, I understand.
Right.
But they inspected it and they said that it's not as bad as you think. Doug said, I'll actually fix it for you. He had a problem with that. And I said, look at Doug. Let him send it in to the factory. And you know what? I'm a stand-up good guy. I'll offer you, and I did offer him to pay half of it. I don't even know what half is.
Right.
And then I get a call back from him on the 13th, and he says you can pay, or the amount of the damage was $1,783.
So why didn't you pay half?
And I did. I offered. I said, I'll call the company, the UAV American, I'll pay half of it. And he says, no, you'll pay the whole thing. And I'm like, no, I only offered for half. He started being a baby about everything. He said, I'm going to call the police on you. They're going to come out to your house. I'm going to sue you for $10,000 and for all the loss of business that I have. And I told him, I said, you know what, Rocco, we're done talking. Don't even call me again. I hung up the phone.
And that was the last time you spoke to him?
That was the last time I spoke to him.
Let's look at the damages. What are we looking at?
What you're looking at is just the pieces to my helicopter here.
Okay. What is this?
That's just, you have the main center motor area, so you could go ahead and put all your electronics on there.
Okay.
And then what you're looking at is the center piece in there is the actual piece where the flight controller sits, and then the battery sits right underneath there.
Okay. Has the drone been fixed?
Yes, the drone was fixed, but to a limited capability.
So you've been using it since then?
Yes, I have.
I'm going to come down and take a look at this because I want to see what exactly this is. I've never basically seen a drone like this. Okay. So how does this work?
Well, how it works is you've got a flight controller on here, and you have a controller that you actually move it up, forward, down, left, right.
Oh, is this a propeller that's broken?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I see. So you've been able to operate this without the propellers that are...
No, what happened was since I could not afford to go ahead and get the whole thing replaced, I only had to come up with what was functional.
So how's someone able to fix this? Are they going to put that back on, or you're going to
No,
get a
you
new
cannot
one?
glue these pieces back together. You actually have to replace the entire arm.
Okay.
And as you can see in the video, it was
You
just
have a drone
hovering.
that's intact, right?
Correct.
Let me take a look at this. This is like a smaller...
Smaller.
Oh, okay. I see now. How much did your drone cost?
I paid somebody $250.
Oh, okay. You got a good deal.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you. Let me explain something to you. Accidents happen, just like car accidents happen when people are driving down the road. I don't think you did anything intentionally here. No. But that doesn't mean that you don't bear some responsibility for the damages to the drone. And you even admitted that and offered to pay half initially, and I really respect that you did that. And I know that you didn't think half was enough, but I want to explain something to you. These guys were flying airplanes, and they're dogfighting them and intentionally trying to hit them in the air, and you were aware of that situation when you decided to put your drone up in the air with them. So because of that, I am going to rule that you assumed some of the risk involved with the activity that you decided to engage in. So I'm going to order the defendant to pay you half, so my judgment is for you for the amount of $2,500, judgment for the plaintiff.
Sure. The plaintiff, Alfonso Thomas, says his ex-girlfriend took advantage of his kindness. After the breakup, he is suing for an unpaid cell phone bill and defamation of character. But the defendant, Dee Miller, claims she paid the bill, and the plaintiff is just trying to get back at her. She's countersuing for medical bills and emotional stress.
Okay, Alfonso Thomas.
Yes.
You are suing the defendant, Dejanera Miller,
Yes.
for $3,546. You say she owes you for an unpaid phone bill, termination costs for that phone, and defamation of character.
Yes, ma'am.
You are countersuing Ms. Miller for $3,908. You say the plaintiff owes you for medical bills and emotional distress.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Thomas, we will start with you. How do you know the defendant?
She's my
Okay.
ex-girlfriend, and we've been together for 3 years.
When did the two of you meet, and how did you meet?
We met online. It was a dating website, and we began talking. She was in Alaska, I was in California. Our first year of dating, we were long distance.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a flight attendant. After that first year, she moved out to California with me to my family member's house.
And that was after 1 year?
After 1 year.
Okay, and where did the two of you move in together?
In Berkeley, California.
Okay.
And Berkeley,
What kind of, was it an apartment, a house?
It was a small studio that my family member owned.
Were you paying rent?
Yes, I paid everything. You know, at the time, it's my family member. So, you know, there was times where I was starting off paying rent.
Ms. Miller, let me hear from you.
Right,
What did you
like-
think of the plaintiff when you met him?
I thought he was attractive. He was pretty cool. I don't think he had a shirt on online, so that's, what was, attractive.
Not necessary.
We did date for a year, and I moved out to Berkeley.
So you moved all the way to California from Alaska.
Absolutely,
It
yes.
must have been kind of serious between the two of you.
Yeah, we
Okay.
discussed marriage. We even did premarital counseling in Alaska. We've been to church together. It was, yes.
Okay. And what happened when you moved out to California?
We were disagreeing a lot, like the last 2 weeks. He had went to work at one point and didn't give me a kiss goodbye. And then I asked him why, and he was like, because I don't want to, this feels like routine. So kissing me, showing me affection is now routine. You're a flight attendant. You say the same 3 announcements every flight. That's routine. How is not giving me a kiss goodbye not routine?
Okay, and so you're living in the studio apartment. What happens? Do you continue to live together, or who moves out?
I moved out. We had a conversation where she confronted me with the relationship, and pretty much it was like a forced breakup. And then I moved out, and I allowed her to stay there.
Coming up, poor sportsmanship in the game of love puts this defendant in the penalty box.
She emailed my CEO.
He terminated the insurance and then did not tell me.
And because the relationship ends, you think the solution to a problem is to email the CEOs and executives of the company that he works for with your personal drama.
The plaintiff is suing his ex-girlfriend for an unpaid cell phone bill and defamation of character. But the defendant claims she paid the bill. She's countersuing for medical bills and emotional stress.
So let's get to the lawsuit. You are suing for $546.47 for an unpaid phone bill and termination. What's that about?
Yes, ma'am. Pretty much the phone bill, I gave her, I told her about the end of 2013. I was like, listen, as I cut off the benefits, I cut off the phone bill as well.
What do you mean by benefits?
That is incorrect right there.
What do you mean by benefits?
The
You cut off
benefits
what
as in
benefits?
flight benefits, medical benefits.
So she was on your medical
Yes,
benefits?
she was still on there as we was broken up.
How long did you allow her to remain on your benefits?
For
after you
6
broke up?
months
Wow.
after we broke up. I was
Longer
there.
than that. Why did you do that?
Just because I still love her. I still want the best for her.
But was
Take
there
her-
an agreement with her, sir, that you would get this phone and she would be responsible for it?
Yes.
The reason why he terminated the phone wasn't because I wasn't paying it. It's because I wouldn't meet with him.
Let's get to your defamation claim. You also have a claim for defamation of character. What's that about?
She emailed my CEO, a lot of other top leaders within my company.
Absolutely.
Pretty much
The CEO of your
the
company?
CEO of my company.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And, I've had to explain this.
What was the reason?
It's for a personal issue of our medical bills.
He terminated the insurance and then did not tell me.
Why do you think the CEO would care about a flight attendant terminating the insurance of his girlfriend? You think the CEO really cares? You just said that he cut off your phone out of spite.
Right.
But now you're messing with someone's job. You cannot do that.
I
You
understand.
can't mess with somebody's livelihood and their job. And because the relationship ends, you think the solution to a problem is to email the CEOs and executives of the company that he works for with your personal drama.
He terminated the insurance without telling me.
I mean,
All
there
he
are
had to do was
plenty
send a
of
text
women
and
out
tell
there
me.
that would appreciate a guy like him who did all the things that he did for your relationship.
He wasn't doing.
You don't mess with somebody's job and his employment. He could have lost his job. What's your counterclaim about?
Okay, so with the medical bills that weren't covered, all he had to do was let me know that he had took me off, so then that way I could have made other arrangements. All he had to do was send a text.
You're suing him for your medical bills.
Okay, look.
I mean, I'm just a little stunned by this. You pay your own medical bills. You get your own health insurance. He doesn't owe you for that. He was doing that out of the kindness of his heart because he could.
He was doing it to hold it over my head.
He does not owe you anything. He doesn't owe you for that. What happened with the emotional stress and the temporary restraining order?
Okay,
that you wrote about in your papers?
Yes. So with the emotional distress, he was always trying to make contact with me.
So you go down to court.
Yes.
And you get a restraining order ex parte, which means he's not there. He doesn't even know that you're going to court. And what did you tell the judge why you needed a restraining order?
I didn't go before a judge.
What did you tell the court as to why you needed a restraining order? Because they granted you a temporary restraining order, right?
Yeah, because of the harassment. Because he was coming by the house. I felt like he was coming by the house to see about my whereabouts. And then when he would come by, he would text me knowing that I was home. And then he's always trying to meet up. I didn't want to meet with him.
So based on everything you just told me, you had no basis to go down to court and get a temporary restraining order against him. None whatsoever. I was a prosecutor, did criminal cases in Manhattan, and I witnessed women who were abused mentally, physically, and emotionally on a daily basis. And they came down to court, and they had to go to court. There are real women with real issues of abuse in this country. They have to go down to court and get restraining orders. And then there are people like you who abuse the system because you have a vendetta against your ex-boyfriend. You go down there, and it's cases like yours that make it difficult for people to take women with real issues seriously when they go down to court and try to get help. You can't do that. You're abusing the system.
I don't feel that I was. He left me. He wanted to be done. I was done.
Your counterclaim is dismissed.
Coming up, Judge Faith rules. And now, Judge Faith rules.
You bent over backwards to do a lot of things for your girlfriend, including putting her on your health insurance on your job. That leads me to believe that because you were paying the rent, paying most of the utilities, paying for most of the household items, you got her the phone too. And you told me today that it was your choice to terminate that contract. So she's not responsible for that. And listen, I empathize with you because I think you did a lot of things that you didn't have to do. And you did it because you were nice, and frankly, you sound really ungrateful today.
No, I was grateful during the time.
But in the end, I don't think she owes you for the phone. I don't think you've met your burden of proof that there was an agreement, and that agreement was that she would pay for termination costs. However, I think when you mess with someone's job and their employment and you email the CEO of their company, that's really serious. And it's really vindictive. And it's really below the belt. You cannot do that. And that is defamation of character. Because I saw the email, and in the subject line, you put employee misconduct. He wasn't committing any misconduct. He was being nice to you. He was helping you.
He was doing it
so
out of
my
spite.
judgment on your defamation of character claim, I am going to grant you some relief on your defamation of character claim, and I'm ordering you to pay the plaintiff $500 judgment for the plaintiff.
The clues in this case are clear.
He mentions later, afterwards, in email that he hadn't thought things through clearly before. I felt uncomfortable with the legality of the sale and that I would have to be buying a vehicle that wasn't rightfully mine.
There's no dispute. He's the person you entered into the contract with. This isn't a whodunit.
And later, neither a borrower nor a lender be.
She kept giving me the different excuses that I believe because we're good friends.
If you're friends with someone, you know what? Then invite them over, have dinner, go to the movies together. But you don't pay their bills. Then you're just being a fool.
Faith Jenkins. Her distinguished legal career began when she graduated first in her law school class. She quickly became a tough New York City prosecutor and then a preeminent legal analyst on cable news. And now she's the judge in her own courtroom. Her cases are real and her rulings are final. She is Judge Faith. Plaintiff Michael Lewis says he sold his RV as is, and now the defendant has buyer's regret. He's suing for the unpaid balance of his RV. Defendant Nicholas Lamb claims the plaintiff is shady and sold him the RV under false pretenses. He's countersuing for his deposit.
Remain seated and come to order. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Faith Jenkins presiding. Your Honor, this case is Lewis versus Lamb.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, Michael Lewis,
yes.
You are suing the defendant, Nicholas Lamb, for $4,566. The remaining balance of an RV you say you sold to him that he didn't pay and other related fees. And Mr. Lamb, you are countersuing for $3,500, the amount you paid for the deposit for the RV you were purchasing from the plaintiff?
That's correct.
Okay, and you guys entered into a written contract, right?
Yes.
May I see a copy of that?
Yes, Mr. Lamb provided this contract himself.
Okay, so you drafted this document.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so you entered into this contract, and tell me about the terms of the agreement.
The terms of the agreement are pretty clear. It describes the vehicle very clearly. There's no question about that. It describes the terms of payment, and it also describes that the vehicle is sold as is. Seller makes no warranties about the condition of the vehicle.
Okay, so the contract, the terms of the contract, there will be an initial deposit of $1,000 upon signing of the agreement, and then the remaining $5,000 will be paid upon receipt and transfer of the title, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so while you were waiting for the title, he paid another $2,500. So he paid $1,000, another $2,500. The total purchase price you have listed on the contract was $6,000, and he actually took the RV, right?
Yes, he took possession of the RV, and he took both copies of the keys at this point.
He's paid you $3,500, and he has possession of the RV. Now you're just waiting for the other $2,500 once you get the title in your hands.
Right.
Did you get the title?
I did get the title.
Okay, why aren't you paying him the remainder $2,500?
When I took the vehicle home, I noticed some extra things that were different about the vehicle than we'd originally discussed, like the backlights didn't work and the dashboard lights didn't work and things like that. And
but your contract said the vehicle is sold as is.
So this is just an avenue towards a different, towards a little bit more. So because of this, I said like, hey, this is a thing. And he's like, it's probably just a fuse. You need to pay me the rest of the money. It was kind of the way the dialogue started going. Previously, the dialogue had been really, warm and comfortable, and so I got really uncomfortable with the way that things started going. And so I researched the legality of the contract itself. There was a bunch of things that were wrong that sort of got me worried about the
You already
sale in
signed the contract, sir. You drafted this contract yourself.
But I looked at this contract. No, conditions like the name on the contract is Michael Gaia, which is not Michael Lewis's legal name. He's
and
he's
the person. There's no dispute. He's the person you entered into the contract with. This isn't a whodunit.
Yeah.
You entered into a contract with him.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough. And the plaintiff is not the owner or titled owner of the vehicle.
And you knew that because it says in the contract, once he gets the title, the title will be transferred to you, and you'd pay $2,500.
Right. Next. But it's not owned by him. Right?
He's getting the title. That's a contingency agreement. Once he gets the title, he's going to transfer it to you. That's what you agreed to.
Yeah. There's no bill of sale between the original owner and him, and all
there
these
was
things
a bill. There is a bill
that the
of
DMV
sale.
required.
There is a bill of sale.
What is the reason? Because you haven't given me one yet. The legitimate reason as to why you aren't paying him the remainder $2,500.
I felt uncomfortable with the legality of the sale and that I would have to be buying a vehicle that wasn't rightfully mine.
So I'm sorry if it made you uncomfortable in the end, but it's you drafted the contract and you signed it, and it is as is. I mean, is that what basically this boiled down to? There were problems with the RV, and he expressed those problems to you?
Well, he did express those problems. I mean, my sense, actually, was that Mr. Lamb was concerned about other things that he wasn't mentioning. Like, I know that parking the RV in San Francisco was probably an issue for him that he hadn't thought about ahead of time. He mentions later, afterwards, in an email, that he hadn't thought things through clearly before, and that he had made mistakes. He says this in emails.
Okay, well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of those things.
If I sign a contract that's not legal, then
this is. I'm telling you, sir. Right. Do you want to debate the law with me?
No.
Okay, because I'm telling you, this is a legal and enforceable contract that you drafted and that the both of you entered into, and it says the vehicle is sold as is.
Coming up, his panic put him in the poorhouse.
He then sent me a FedEx package with the keys to the vehicle in it and instructions on how to get the vehicle.
So I talked to the San Francisco Police Department and got legal counsel on this.
I don't know who you were talking to. They were giving you wrong information.
And later, the divide gets deeper between these two former BFFs.
That's a lie. That's
Really,
a lie.
Rayvon? Are you serious?
Her parents wouldn't take her in. Her sister put her out.
This what we do?
Let's be honest.
So we
Let's be here.
So we throwing shade.
I don't have
Miss
time for this.
Miss Rippey, ladies, we're not going to get anywhere if you guys keep talking to each other like this.
Plaintiff Michael Lewis says he sold his RV as is, and now the defendant has buyer's regret. He's suing for the unpaid balance of his RV. Defendant Nicholas Lamb claims the plaintiff sold him the RV under false pretenses. He's countersuing for his deposit.
If you're buying a vehicle as is, that means buyer beware. You take it or you leave it. If there's an issue with it, did you take it to a mechanic before you signed the contract and gave him $3,500? Well, that's on you.
But my concern is that it's not a legal sale through the DMV.
And I'm telling you it is a legal sale.
Okay.
He has the title. All it takes to buy a used car, a valid title, he transfers ownership to you, you pay him the money. There we go.
Even if the title's from someone else that's not him?
Sir, he got a valid title. Were you able to get the title to the vehicle?
Yes, I have it right here.
Okay. There's no issue with the title. Who has the RV now?
I have the RV.
How did you get the RV back?
After this breach of contract emerged, and I realized that Mr. Lamb was going back on his intent to follow through with the purchase of the vehicle, and after I had made several attempts in email to try to come to some terms of agreement, he seemed to be completely unwilling. And so then I got legal counsel, and I had a letter sent to Mr. Lamb notifying him that I still needed the full payment, and that if he didn't provide that, I would take further action. I think sometime around the time he received that letter, he then sent me a FedEx package with the keys to the vehicle in it and instructions on how to get the vehicle.
What do you mean by instructions?
Well, there was a picture of the vehicle of its location in San Francisco, which is an hour away from where I live. He wrote a letter declaring that he had no responsibility for the vehicle whatsoever. He was giving me the keys back and telling me that it was in a 72-hour limited parking zone and that I needed to come pick it up. This was basically suggesting that.
So you just wanted to send him on a scavenger hunt to get the RV?
No, I talked to the San Francisco Police Department and got legal counsel.
I don't know who you were talking to. They were giving you wrong information. You have a contract that you have entered into contingent upon the seller getting the title of the RV. Once he gets the title of the RV, the terms are set. This is very clear. This is one of the clearest contracts I've had in my court in a long time. And so for you to force him to take the RV back when he's not willing to go back, you're having buyer's remorse for whatever reason, not having a grown-up man-to-man conversation with him, but FedExing him the keys and parking the RV in a random location and just saying, I'm washing my hands of this, I want my money back.
This is what I was
That's
legally
not how
told
it works.
to do. It wasn't the vehicle wasn't mine.
Let's see the picture. What picture did he send you?
That's the picture he sent me, yeah.
So it's just parked on a random street?
Yep.
Okay, and your countersuit is about what?
Is my deposit that I paid?
The $3,500 that you paid? Okay, you breached the contract. You don't get that back. You breached the contract, and it's unfortunate because you gave the RV back. You have the RV back, right?
I have the RV.
Okay, and you have $3,500 that he paid you that you get to keep because you breached the contract. Right. That's your loss.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you want from me?
I would like the additional $2,500 that he agreed to pay on that terms of the contract, and additional fees and costs for damages and legal items.
Okay, if he does that, if you want him to pay you $2,500 more, then you have to give the RV back to him. You have $3,500 as a result of this contract of sale that you get to keep, and you have an RV. You were selling it for $6,000, right? So now you get to sell that RV for another $6,000. You keep his $3,500.
Okay.
You're on top. Like, you come out on top in this situation because he breached the contract.
However,
I'm not awarding you an additional $2,500 for the cost of the RV when you have it back, sir.
However, Your Honor, I had this idea too. When I received the RV back, I listed it on Craigslist again, selling it for the original price. The breach of this contract happened 18 days after the original signing of the contract, which was at the beginning of the summer. The season for purchasing RVs had changed, and I've had no one interested in buying it for that original price.
But sir,
it's a seasonal thing.
You have $3,500 as a result of his breach, and you also have the RV. Sell it again for $6,000. You make $9,500 instead of $6,000. Case is dismissed.
Plaintiff Rayvon Morris says she never expected her ex-best friend would take advantage of her kindness. She is suing for past due rent and costs of a vacation. Defendant Jamila Rippey says she paid back most of the money, and the plaintiff is being impatient.
Okay, Rayvon Morris?
Yes.
You are suing the defendant Jamila Rippey for $1,782, 8 months in past due rent. And the cost for a vacation you say she promised to pay you back for, and she failed to do so?
That's correct.
Okay, tell me what happened.
Well, Your Honor, I met the defendant back in 2009 in college. We became good friends.
What college?
Western University up north from Kalamazoo. We became good friends. Then in mid-February, the defendant came to me. She was down on her luck. She was telling me her sister put her out.
Mid-February of what year?
2013. And she moved in with another friend. They threatened to put her out. She kept coming to me again and again with sad stories. So as a friend, I thought we was good friends. So I told her, I offered her a place to stay. And I told her the stipulations would be that she pays me $150 every month. And I have to pay bills, and so does she.
Okay, and did you put that agreement in writing?
No.
How long did the defendant live with you?
8 months.
I did not come to her and ask her to stay with her.
Yes, you did.
No, you asked
you came to me. Why would I ask you to come?
Coming up, Judge Faith calls their contract into question.
You neglected to put that she owed you over $1,200 in rent? That's what you want me to believe?
Plaintiff Rayvon Morris says she never expected her ex-best friend would take advantage of her kindness. She is suing for past due rent and costs of a vacation. Defendant Jamila Rippey says she paid back most of the money, and the plaintiff is being impatient.
What do you have to say about that, ma'am?
She's lying.
I'm sorry?
She's lying.
Okay.
She's lying.
How?
I mean, okay, well, we didn't meet in college. We met at Western in 2009, and we were good friends. And I did not come to her and ask her to stay with her.
Yes, you did.
No, you asked
you came
me.
To me. Why would I ask you to come to me and put a burden on me?
Okay, really?
Are you
This
serious?
Are you serious? Relevant? For real?
Miss
Anyway.
Rippey, so tell me what happened. You did move in with the plaintiff, right?
This is what happened. I got kicked out of a friend of mine. I was staying with her, and I was telling Rayvon, like, I don't know
Why did you get kicked out?
It was a situation. It was another person staying there. We wasn't a part of the lease agreement, so we both had to leave.
Got it.
I told her, well, this is a situation. I don't know if I'm going to have to go back up north to my parents' house or what's going on. She was all like,
That's
well,
a lie.
you can come stay with me.
That's
Really,
a lie.
Rayvon? Are
She
you
said
serious?
Her parents wouldn't take her in. Her sister put her out.
This what we do?
Like, let's be honest.
So we,
Let's
okay.
be here.
Oh,
Let's
so
be
we throwing
honest.
shade? We throwing
Let's
shade?
be honest.
This how you act? Are you acting fake?
So how long did the defendant live with you? How many months?
She stayed with me 8 months.
Did she ever pay you $150 in rent?
Yes, the very first month. She had the money because she was working at Taco Bell, and I helped the defendant also get another job at a group home.
So the first month you say she paid you rent?
She's lying.
Yes.
Okay, so
She's a
why are you
liar.
suing for 8 months rent if you say she paid
ended
you
up
rent?
staying over a couple months until...
It wasn't 8 months.
It was like October when you left.
Ma'am,
I'm
How was it October
Excuse
when
me,
I
ma'am.
left?
My question to you is, how long she lived with you? You told me 8 months.
Well, I'm counting without the first month rent.
Total time frame, how many months did the defendant live
9.
with you? Okay, the first time I asked you, you told me 8. So now you say she lived with you 9 months.
Yeah, which one is it, Rayvon? Which one is it?
Of all,
Hush
did
your
she
mouth.
pay you rent?
We're talking.
Tell the story. Stop lying.
We're
Excuse
talking.
me, ladies, we're not going to get anywhere if you guys keep talking to each other like this. You said she paid you $150 the first month.
Correct. That's the initial fee for her to move in because she couldn't move in without it.
Okay, what about the second month?
Then the second month she did not pay because she was saying that her job, excuses after excuses. She kept saying her job cut her hours, went down to 2 days a week.
So you're saying there was no agreement that she not pay rent but only pay for household
No, it's no agreement.
necessities and food.
No.
So let's
In
go to the
October.
second part of the lawsuit, which is you're suing her for $582 for a vacation you said she didn't pay for.
Correct.
Tell me about that.
Okay,
Yeah,
the
let's talk about that.
582 was for the 150 for the rent, and then the 302, I pay her plane fare to get to the cruise because she couldn't afford it.
Wait,
so she
this $582 includes $150 in rent?
Rent, and then I took her to work a couple times, so that also include me gas money. Then the plane ticket, which is the 302.
Gas money. I stay right up the street from my job. I walk.
Okay,
You
so the
didn't
total
walk to
you're
work.
suing
You
for
had-
the...
you took,
Excuse
we took
me,
you to work
ladies.
a lot of times. Every time.
So the total you're suing for the vacation is $302, correct?
Right, for the, yes.
Okay. Why would you buy a $300 plane ticket for someone who hasn't paid you rent in 8 months?
Because we're good friends, and she kept giving me the different excuses that I believe because we're good friends.
If you're friends with someone, you know what? Then invite them over, have dinner, go to the movies together. But you don't pay their bills.
That's understandable.
Okay,
but
then you're just being a fool.
Yeah.
Did the two of you ever enter into a written agreement?
Yes, we did.
About the money that was owed?
Yes.
Okay.
I have it.
Do either of you have a copy?
Yes, I do.
I have a copy
May I
of
see it,
as
please?
well.
Okay. I just need one.
I'm going to let you know right now. Well, you can have her copy because my copy's damaged.
Okay, this is not the original. Do you have the original?
No, mine is also, she wrote it on a piece of paper and then she copied it.
Let me see what you have.
Well, like I said
because I see numbers.
Like I said before, it's damaged. Like, I don't know if you knew, but Michigan got flooded and my basement got flooded, so all my information is kind of messed up, but it's in there. And also, the receipt that I gave her, $400 of the money, is in there too. So how are you still suing me when I gave you $400?
What is that?
Okay. How are you suing me? That's it. That's all I have. My house was flooded. Hey, it's better than nothing. That's all I have.
Okay, hold on. I almost
you see
have
how
it
the
here.
number says 582 on the bottom?
I just want to make sure I'm looking at the same document for both of you. Okay. At least you were able to salvage this. I mean,
yeah, it was
that's
like
a good part
literally
of
my
it.
basement got flooded.
Okay, and then this is what?
That's the receipt from the $400 that I gave her for the initial 582. So how do I still owe you money when I gave you $400?
Okay, and so this agreement says, and do you acknowledge receiving $400?
Yes.
You will pay Rayvon all of her money I owe her with my next 2 checks in the fall. That includes the trip and the bills and the total cost together, which includes back rent.
Correct.
And the total cost here is $582.
And now, Judge Faith rules.
You did sign this agreement, right?
Yeah, we both signed it.
And you read it before you signed it?
Yes, but when we signed it, I did neglect to put the $150 because, once again, we're good friends, and she knew the amount that she had to pay.
No, ma'am. You neglected to put that she owed you 8 months in rent on an agreement where the agreement states this is the total amount that she owes you in totality. You neglected to put that she owed you over $1,200 in rent. That's what you want me to believe?
Yeah,
yes.
Me too.
Okay. No, ma'am. I don't believe that, because here I have an agreement that's dated August 13th of 2013, and it states unequivocally and clearly this is everything she owes you, which includes back rent. And the total cost is $582. So I'm going to subtract from that the $400. That's $182. In August of 2013, at the end of the 8-month period where you say she lived with you and you don't mention anything about her owing 8 months rent, and only back rent you include is $150 of this total, I actually believe what she said about what she owes. And in this case, it's in writing. So I don't even have to take her word for it. It's a written document. That's the presumption when you sign a contract that both of you read it and understood it. So my judgment in this case is for you, but only in the amount of $182. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Go ahead and wait here a minute.
A $20 cell phone is keeping these exes from hanging up on their relationship drama.
This is someone who I was supposed to be with forever, and instead I find out he's a compulsive liar, he's a cheater, possibly has STDs, put his hands on me and my child. Put his hands on me and my child.
Pump your brakes there, sweetheart.
I am sitting here in disbelief that the two of you cannot resolve an issue with a cell phone that you only had for about 2 weeks.
And later, was the computer a gift or a loan?
After 10 years, Your Honor, why would I say, no, you can't use my computer when we don't have a history of betrayal? I asked her, can I use your computer? He said, you know what, I have a backup computer. I see you tried to make it, take it as a gift. You can have it.
You don't run anything in my courtroom. I ask the questions and she's answering it. Do you understand?
Faith Jenkins. Her distinguished legal career began when she graduated first in her law school class. She quickly became a tough New York City prosecutor and then a preeminent legal analyst on cable news. And now she's the judge in her own courtroom. Her cases are real and her rulings are final. She is Judge Faith. Plaintiff Crystal Oakley says after her ex-boyfriend cheated on her and they broke up, he refused to return a phone she paid for. She's suing for the cost of the phone and the unpaid bill. Defendant Vincent Johnson says the phone was a gift, but after they broke up, the plaintiff terminated the account. He's countersuing for termination fees and the cost of a new phone.
Remain seated and come to order. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Faith Jenkins presiding. Your Honor, we have Oakley versus Johnson.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, Ms. Crystal Oakley, you are suing the defendant, Vincent Eric Johnson, for $900, the cost of a phone and a phone bill you say he owes you for?
Yes.
And Mr. Johnson, you are countersuing for $550. You say the plaintiff owes you for early termination fees, a cell phone bill, and the cost of a new phone?
Correct.
Okay, Ms. Oakley, I'll hear from you first. What's going on here?
Well, basically, he's not the person I thought he was. This is someone who I was supposed to be with forever, and instead I find out he's a compulsive liar, he's a cheater, possibly has STDs, put his hands on me and my child. Put his hands on me and my child.
Pump your brakes there, sweetheart.
So the two of you were in a dating relationship. How did you meet?
We knew each other back from high school, and then we still hung out with mutual friends. Then we wound up dating for a year and a half, moved in together. And that's when I decided to put the phone in my name because he was having some issues paying his phone bills. But then I was at his house for about 2 weeks, and then I discovered he had been seeing someone else. The whole STD thing came up. I was supposed to be the only one that knew about it.
This keeps popping up. There's a story before that. I receive a call from a cousin to go to a baseball game. My phone rings. She checks my phone. There's an inbound message from a girl that I had been dating while we weren't together, and she sees that inbound message. She didn't say nothing all day long. We get home, we're getting ready to go to bed. Here she comes, and this is where it starts. She's going left and right, and I tell her, hey, look, cut it out. It's 12 o'clock at night. I got to go to work in the morning. I don't have time for this. And she's going on and on. And I told her, hey, cut it out, or it's about to get real ugly.
No, because
real
he
fast.
had told me that he hadn't been seeing anyone else, and that
We
he
didn't
didn't
talk
tell
for 3
anybody
months.
else. I asked you during that time period, had you been seeing anyone else? So that we're back together, am I going to have any surprises with some female saying, hey, we did this and that? She knew about the STD apparently as well, and that's what started the conversation, as well as he had been in fact seeing her.
I brought
that
paper
night,
that shows I do not have an STD.
What's going on? What do you mean?
Why are we talking about an STD about the phone?
I don't know what's going on with that, but you keep bringing it up.
Well, the point is, because I brought all that, she wasn't supposed, first of all, she never existed in the beginning, as well as that's how I got started. Because I was like, how does she even know about this, health issue? That's how the conversation got started.
Because you
that day.
you were saying he confided in you about a health issue he was having.
Correct.
And you thought you were the
I
only
was
one
the only
that
one
knew?
that knew. So one, that's how I knew he was seeing her. On top of the stuff that she
again,
said.
we're here about a phone.
Yeah,
And
but you
she
kicked
keeps
me
going
out that
through
night.
my
That's how.
phone
This
in
is
order
how
to
we got
find
to this
stuff.
point. That's how we got. He kicked me out that night. Me and my son.
So this is how the two of you broke up. This is the end of their relationship,
Yes.
and then that's when everything happens
Correct,
with
the phone.
So
Absolutely.
at some point you say what about the phone?
So that Friday, when I'm getting my stuff together, I emailed him and I asked him, so what about the phone? He will not give it back.
You don't want responsibility for him being on your plan, right?
Correct.
You want him to pay the bills and be responsible for the
Absolutely.
phone. Okay, so you don't need the phone back to do that.
To return it, or there's two options. You can actually return it, and he can just, do his own thing, or you can transfer responsibility.
Which
We
I
went
tried.
back-
I tried to
we
transfer
went back and forth
responsibility
with that.
over
Hold
and
on a
over and
second.
over and
Hold
over
on a
again.
second, sir. Who has the phone?
I do.
Why have you not transferred
I have offered that.
responsibility to
I
him?
have offered that, even on my demand letter
No,
that I
she did
sent
not.
him.
No,
Yes, I
ma'am.
did.
No, ma'am. In your complaint to the court, you wrote that he called you and said that he wanted the phone and the
Absolutely.
responsibility to the phone to be transferred. In your complaint to the court, you said you didn't feel comfortable doing that.
Coming up, is their relationship really over or just on hold?
She froze the account. She reported the phone stolen, so I can't do anything with that phone. It's just a paperweight.
This is not about the phone. This is about the drama and a way for you to remain in contact. This is the only, yes it is, because there's no way, if you didn't want to be in contact with him, you wouldn't be in contact with him at all.
And later, they were best friends until she tried to take what wasn't hers.
She's asked, can she borrow my car? That's a big no. You ask, can you borrow my wigs? Are you serious? Not on my watch. I got a clock, I got a watch, but I ain't got the time. Not for a woman like her.
Did you let her borrow your car?
No car, no wigs, no man. That's 3 things I don't do.
Plaintiff Crystal Oakley says after her ex-boyfriend cheated on her and they broke up, he refused to return a phone she paid for. She's suing for the cost of the phone and the unpaid bill. Defendant Vincent Johnson says the phone was a gift, and after they broke up, the plaintiff terminated the account. He's countersuing for termination fees and the cost of a new phone.
Within 14 days, you could have transferred responsibility of the phone. Absolutely. It takes one call. I've looked at a series of events that have happened since the two of you broke up about this phone, where you've called him, you've went to see him, you guys had another physical altercation all over this phone. It takes one call to T-Mobile to transfer responsibility to his name. So why are you here today? Is it that it's not about the phone, and this is just a way for you to keep in contact,
absolutely
keep
not.
baiting
No,
him?
when
This
I
is
went
an
back-
issue? Because why have you not transferred responsibility of the phone to him? You paid $20 for the phone. Who cares about the phone? What's your counterclaim about?
I'm a director of sales. I have 500 contacts. I have 2 kids. I can't get in touch with my people. So I have to go out and buy a whole new phone that cost me $100.
So you're suing her over that first phone?
Yes. She turned it in.
Okay.
And gave me a new S5. It was upgraded. So since she turned it in and we had the altercation Saturday, she called T-Mobile. She froze the account. She reported the phone stolen. So I can't do anything with the phone. I go to T-Mobile and say, hey, I have a phone. All you have to do is just hook it up. Sir, it'll be $300 to even turn it on. And then I come to find out she's reported it stolen, locked the number, and froze the account. So I can't do anything with that phone. It's just a paperwork.
Why did you report the phone stolen?
Sprint. Well, that's just how they do it on the in T-Mobile. In T-Mobile, if you'll see the sheet that I have, in T-Mobile, that's how it's just listed there.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, ma'am, you're 35 years old, you're 37 years old, both of you have children.
Yes, ma'am.
I am sitting here in disbelief that the two of you cannot resolve an issue with a cell phone that you only had for about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Well, right. And we have gotten to this point now where you can't even resolve an issue with a cell phone. First, the fact that you have gone on and called the police and gotten all these people involved and tried to have repeated contact with him. Let me finish to get a $20 phone back. Ma'am, let it go. It's $20. It's a phone.
It's $700.
Let it go. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. I have an iPhone. I've had a cell phone for 10 years. I know exactly how the plans work. It takes one phone call to T-Mobile to transfer. Excuse me. Let me finish speaking. This is not about the phone. This is about the drama and a way for you to remain in contact. This is the only. Yes, it is, because there is no way. If you didn't want to be in contact with him, you wouldn't be in contact with him at all. Okay, this is not how you handle issues that come up in relationships, and you should know better because you have kids that you are raising, and when there are issues and there are conflict, you find a way to resolve it. You don't let it get to this point over a $20 cell phone. Your counterclaim, I'm not holding her responsible. Listen, the two of you want to live together, share a house together, share a bed, share the bills, share the phones, whatever. But don't bring all of this to me to try to then sort out. And, if you have a problem, if you want your life to be fixed, call Ayanla Van Zant. Don't come to my courtroom to fix it because this is not a legal issue. This is a personal issue. Now, you know what to do with the phone. Cut it off. Get it transferred to him. You get the phone in your name. Your counterclaim is dismissed. Your case is dismissed as well, ma'am.
Plaintiff Frida Jackson is suing her former friend for the cost of a borrowed computer. She is accompanied by her mother, Rose Jackson. But defendant Natasha Catet says she doesn't owe anything, and the plaintiff gave her the computer as a gift.
Ms. Jackson, you are suing the defendant, Natasha Catet, for $1,000, the value of a computer you say you loaned to her and she refused to return to you. Correct?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Tell me about that. How do you know the defendant, first of all?
I know the defendant. I met her. She was homeless, and she came to me looking for a place to stay. I told her she couldn't stay with me, so I talked to the apartment owner who had pulled strings to help her get an apartment, so she got an apartment next door to me,
That is
which
an
helped
untrue
her out.
statement, Your Honor.
And when did you
Don't
meet the
interrupt me
defendant?
when I'm talking. Mind your manners.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to ask you to mind your manners in my courtroom. Don't speak to another litigant. That's my job. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. When did you meet the defendant?
I met the defendant about 11 years ago.
Okay, and when you met her, you say she was homeless?
Yes.
Ma'am,
So I
that's
helped her
untrue.
get an
What
apartment
happened? That's untrue.
in the apartment.
I met her exactly right after I got out of the Navy. I served from 1994 to 2004. I am a U.S. veteran in the Navy. So I served for 10 years.
That doesn't have anything to do with the case.
Hold on a second.
I would
want to
like
hear
my
what she has to
computer.
say. Go ahead, Ms. Cadet.
Okay.
Yes. So as soon as I got out, I was very new into the civilian world. So I was staying in a place and I was looking for
This doesn't have anything to do with the case.
Miss Jackson,
My
stop
computer-
I asked her a question and she's answering it. You don't run anything in my courtroom. I ask the questions and she's answering it. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
At some point, you decide to lend, and I know you say it was a gift, but at some point you give the defendant a computer.
She asked, can she borrow my computer because her computer at home was broken.
When was that?
That was, I'd say, beginning of February. I've known her for over 10 years. So I didn't have a problem lending her the computer. She's asked, can she borrow my car? That's a big no. You ask, can you borrow my wigs? Are you serious? Not on my watch. I got a clock, I got a watch, but I ain't got the time. Not for a woman like her.
I hear
so
you.
After 10 years, Your Honor, why would I say, no, you can't use my computer when we don't have a history of betrayal?
Did you let her borrow your car before?
No, that's a no. No car, no wigs, no man. That's 3 things I don't do. So then she says, I didn't have a problem saying, no, you can't use my computer because she seems to me, she's always been business-minded, and I like that. I'm also business-minded. She said she wanted to borrow a computer for 1 week. 1 week passed, 2 weeks passed, 3 weeks. Here it is 6 months later, no text, no phone calls, no nothing. She's been avoiding me.
When did you first reach out to her and say, hey, what's going on? Where's my computer?
The second week after she had the computer.
What happened?
And then that point on.
Did you reach her?
No, she ignored the phone calls. I spoke to her on one occasion when she said I can come pick it up. I said,
So you go to pick up the computer, and on your way, what happens?
I go pick up the computer. She's not home. Elderly man comes in, answer the door, and I left a message with him. I've showed up different occasions. My mother has been with me, and she would not return any of the phone calls. So I pushed star 67 to see if she answered the phone call, and she did. And I said, "This is
Star 67 is when you block the number.
That's the private. Yes,
oh,
yes.
Okay,
so then she didn't answer the phone call. So I said, Mother, can you call Natasha? My mother called Natasha. Natasha answered the phone. She didn't recognize her number.
You thought she was avoiding you.
This is my career. Yeah, this is my career. I go to school for hospital administration. So you're taking my education. I'm handicapped because I cannot use my computer. She has it.
I can't go a week without my laptop. There's just no way. I have everything on there, and you're saying you work and you go to school and all these other things. Why would you lend your computer to someone for a week?
I loaned it to her for 1 week because the school that I'm in, you have to do 1 chapter a week. So my chapter's done. I'm fine with the week. But after that...
What did you use in the meantime? Did you have anything that you
I didn't have to do...
Have you gotten another computer since you loaned her that one?
No. I have
Okay.
Next on Judge Faith.
In a short period of time, things were going well. I lost the food truck because the fire came, a deep fat fryer fire.
So a deep fat fryer caught on fire.
Caught on fire.
Plaintiff Frida Jackson is suing her former friend for the cost of a borrowed computer. Joining her in court is her mother, Rose Jackson. Defendant Natasha Catet says she doesn't know anything, and the plaintiff gave her the computer as a gift.
Tell me about the conversation you had with her when you say she gave you the computer. I want to know the exact conversation.
Excellent, excellent. It was a gift, ma'am. It was totally a gift. The relationship I've had with Frida, that I've known that I've had with Frida, is that I would do anything for Frida. Anytime she called me in the middle of the night, she had any problem, I would always be there for her. I was like a beacon of light into her life. It's a source of encouragement. She had men problem. She would come to my house. She'll spend the night. She'll bring her daughter. She usually she doesn't cook very well. I was putting that business together.
Miss Jackson.
I had just encountered a food truck. What happened? I was taking my business from a different level, okay? So I had a food truck, leasing it, very exciting, very going.
How much were you leasing the food truck for?
The deal was $1,000 a month to pay on a monthly.
So you started your own business?
Yes, exactly. I had a partner that come in and help me. The way the partnership work out is that he would be provided the food truck, okay, for me to lease, and then he'll get some of the profits of the business.
So why can you afford to buy a computer on your own?
I started this business. I didn't have much fun to get it going. I did have a backup computer. I had a computer a small laptop that I was using. In a short period of time, things were going well. I lost the food truck because the fire came, a deep fat fire.
So a deep fat fryer caught on fire.
Caught on fire.
Okay.
Exactly. Inside of the food
Your
truck.
Honor.
Because the food truck is actually a kitchen on wheels.
Tell me about the conversation. I understand you lost the food truck.
I lost the food truck.
You were down
and
on your
my
luck.
laptop was inside of the food truck.
Okay, so your laptop was in the food truck. So tell me about the conversation you had with the plaintiff about her computer.
Yes, I asked her, can I use your computer? He said, you know what, I have a backup computer. I see you try to make it. Take it as a gift. You can have it. Okay?
Did you know that this was a computer that she used for school and for work?
No, she did not use that computer for school, ma'am, because she has her own laptop. That computer was sitting in her house. She said, I'm not using it anyway.
Has she ever given you anything before?
Prior
to this computer?
But I have given her stuff before. I have given her barbecue grilled. As a matter of fact, I had a big flat screen TV that cost over $1,400.
So let me ask you, why do you think she's saying that the computer was a loan? Did she ever call you and say, I'd like my computer back, and you said, okay, come and pick it up? Did that happen?
No.
So that conversation never happened?
No. I had a few calls from Frida. However, I did not take the call. I did not have enough minutes into my phone. I did not have any money because when this happened with the fire, I lost my business. My landlord wanted to evict me, and my van that I usually drive to go, the transmission broke down. Okay, so I was in a state emotionally that I really was not returning any call because I was trying to survive.
Are you the plaintiff's mother?
Your Honor, can I?
Ms. Jackson, do you want to say something?
Please.
Stand up and walk.
Thank you.
And approach the lectern. What do you have to say about this case?
Latasha is total drama queen, period. She lies a lot.
No, you are supporting your
Miss
daughter.
Cadet,
in not telling the
please
truth.
do not interrupt.
Very well, ma'am.
Go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
That one there, she is a mess.
Your daughter is a mess.
Drama queen.
No, Miss Cadet.
I'm so sorry. That's not a true
Please
statement
don't
at all.
interrupt.
And now, Judge Faith rules.
She told me that a millionaire bought her a truck, a roach coach.
What is a roach coach?
A food truck.
Did somebody buy you the food truck?
It was a partnership. He didn't purchase for me.
From your millionaire friend?
Yes, this person that does that, yes, he is a millionaire. Yes, he is. Okay. I mean, there are people that are millionaires.
Ms. Jackson, did you ever witness any of the times that your daughter tried to get the laptop back from the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Okay. When did you get the computer, Ms. Jackson? Your daughter?
I got the computer 2013.
What kind of computer is it?
It is a Dell.
Do you have another computer that you're using now?
Yes.
You can have a seat, Ms. Jackson. Thank you. Value of a 2013 Dell desktop computer is around $350. Judgment for the plaintiff in this case for $350. Pay over the value of the computer.